Like most of my videos, this is just going to be a little extemporaneous, unscripted narration. Just going to go over the Catalina 470, my own particular vessel, sailing vessel Annie Laurie. Show you some of the features and some of the really nice things about it. One of the some of the features that make it actually a superb offshore blue water sailboat. I know some people don't think of Catalinas as that way, but Frank Butler and founder of Catalina Yachts did an absolute wonderful thing when they designed the 470. Not only does it exceed the Category A ocean ratings, it also meets the ISAF Category 1 for offshore racing, although it's not a racing boat. These are just some pictures of my own boat. Here's one at the dock at Christmas time with some Christmas lights shining on it. I'm going to go over just a few of the minor things that you might be interested in seeing, not just for the boat itself, but also to help keep you yourself safe and your crew happy. Some of the things that make a happy crew, of course, is a nice, clean, dry bunk to sleep in at night when you're offshore, and some really nice, tasty, warm food. The shear line of the 470 is a reasonably modern shear, and as you can see from the deck and hull line out, it's a pretty nice, well-founded boat. The underbody is very well rounded, although it has a moderately fine entry. All of the halyards are inside, even including the very well extended spinnaker halyard. As you can see, the very smooth, rounded forefoot and underbody. This is not a boat that pounds its way through a sea at all. This is a boat that simply handles a heavy seaway very, very well. It is definitely an offshore cruising boat. I know the layout looks pretty standard these days. We'll go over that in a few minutes here as well. The general layout of the Catalina 470 as far as its performance standards, the displacement length ratio of 167 is considered moderately light, but certainly not an extremely light boat for racing. But it still has a fair amount of heft to it for offshore sailing. The sail area to displacement ratio of 17.6 is a little bit high. So some people might think that can make the boat a little tender or something like that if you're over canvassed. But to be quite honest with you, I've never found that to be an issue at all. Displacement ballast ratio of 34.5 puts it right in the middle of most good offshore cruising boats. A fuel capacity, like most good auxiliary sailboats, is slightly low for some standards, but 84 gallons is plenty enough to motor quite a distance at sea if you need to. It's in two separate tanks, separate in dedicated filters. Water capacity 214 gallons in 5 tanks, and of course, most importantly, the black water or holding tank capacity. There's 2 tanks of 33 gallons each. There's no question about it. The 470 is a performance cruising yacht. Here is a little views of it under construction. As you can see, it's a hand-laid fiberglass hull, and below the waterline, as you can see, it's solid glass, an inch and a half thick, and above the waterline, it uses Altec AL600 end-grain-balsa-core. Except in any of the hull and deck joint areas, the forepeak and other high stress areas where it's all solid glass. But this allows a decent amount of stiffness to be built into the hull, as well as the structural grid that's laid in before the hull is taken out of the mold. Makes this a very stiff constructed hull, and the coring of the top sides above the waterline, about 6 inches above the waterline, is where the coring starts. Also provides a significant amount of insulation, so you do not get an extremely hot boat when you're sitting in the Caribbean in the summertime. Here's a close-up of the keel sump, and that's one other really nice thing about this boat is the very heavy-duty keel. As you can see, I've put it on the screen here about how the hull is constructed. Here's a picture of the structural grid still under construction. and it's a solid glass, fiberglass structural grid, and this is laid in and glassed into the hull before the hull is removed from the mold. This has a little bit of a description about how they do it in the yard in the construction. The photo that you see here is a photo of the inside of a 445 Catalina 445 hull in its structural grid. The 470 is slightly larger with the more longitudinal stringers. Here's just a brief description of what Catalina calls its a five-step program, where it has a hull, the structural grid. It has a molded hull liner, which is not structural at all, and this is basically for forming the smooth gel-coated surfaces for some of the furniture bases and for the heads and galley structure as well. Then they have a one-piece molded deck which is attached to the hull after all the insides are made. There is a deck liner that has no structural significance, but it allows somewhat of an insulation between the surface of the deck and the cabin as well as giving the cabin a nice aesthetic view on the inside. This is a description of how Catalina uses chain plates differently than some other companies do. This is a pretty impressive design, in my opinion, coming from the old school that I did, having to deal with corroded stainless chain plates over the years. It was a real dream to look at this at Catalina and find out that I can remove one of the back cushions from a settee and stick my head in a little cubby, and I can see the chain plates and can get at them, and very large, huge, thick extruded pieces of aluminum that are glassed into the grid and the hull and that, and it's really an amazing the structure. It's really is fantastic. I cannot think of anything um, more impressive that's going to last forever. It's certainly going to outlast me. I'm going to be long dead before anybody's ever going to have to mess with these. This is just a little view of the outside where the shrouds come through the deck. This is just a little bit of a highlight of some of the things you can do to take a really good offshore boat and make it really livable, whether it be at anchor in the Caribbean or elsewhere. Maybe you're doing some more Arctic cruising or Northern Europe or something like that. And you can make the entire cockpit, which is a huge expansive area, you make the entire cockpit another room. You basically, it's not an outdoor porch. It's more of an indoor cabin, if you will, or what we would call down here in Florida, we would call it a Florida room. And with the Dodger and a full-length bimini top and an enclosure, you've really added a significant amount of living space to your vessel, as well as operational space. And it's also a wonderful place to put solar panels that are not shaded by anything. You notice this is a slightly older picture of my boat where I only have 520 watts of solar up there, but there's room for over 800 or 900 watts in the days from now. You can afford that much. And I've also added some additional stanchions support structure for those panels as well. And here's a look at the entire enclosure all zipped in and ready to go. So um, this is some more views of the cockpit. You'll take a notice here, the center cockpit table. Excuse me, it's an aft cockpit boat. I should have said that. It's a cockpit table that's in the center of the cockpit. The leaves fold down out of the way, so there's plenty of room to walk and operate. The chart plotter is in the left-hand side of this picture, and it is folded down out of the way. So when you're at anchor or simply not needing a chart plotter, many times when you're offshore, you certainly don't need it. There's something there but water. You've got a lot more room. You can easily sit 6 people at this table. and enjoy a wonderful multi-course meal right there at dining al fresco if you'd like. Or more along my lines, throw a pillow and a blanket up there, and you could spend 20 some hours of your day there. Here is more of a better view of the operational side of the cockpit. Of course, having twin helms, two Ritchie steering compasses, as well as the chart plotter in the center there, and other instruments at the forward end of the cockpit table. Gives you a lot of room to sail the vessel as well as relax when you're at anchor. This is just a generic picture of the Catalina 470 cockpit, showing with the leaves of the table up. And showing a significant amount of room. There are two separate cables for independent helms. So should you have a problem with one of the cables, or you lose steering from one wheel, or a chain gets jammed or something like that, you've got the other side to control, as well as the drive for the autopilot is on a separate tiller arm on the rudder post. It is not connected to the steering quadrant at all. So should you lose the entire steering quadrant, or both cables or both wheels, you could still steer with the autopilot drive. This is just a look at the helm with the one of the two Ritchie steering compasses, the autopilot control head and display. There's a which is mirrored on the other helm as well. On the starboard helm here is the remote VHF microphone, and then there are also two buttons, gray and black waterproof buttons, and these are remote control buttons for the anchor windlass. This is just a quick shot I took on my boat on one of my Atlantic crossings, going from Florida to Gibraltar with a stop in the Azores. And here we were probably 2 or 3 days in. We were still in the Gulf Stream, heading to the northeast, and getting pushed by the Gulf Stream really well. But we were close hauled with only about 16 knots of apparent wind, and literally, I mean, we had about 35 degrees, 40 degrees apparent, which is people think you can't sail that close to the wind, but you really can on the 470. It's a really, really excellent boat for going to windward. And you'll notice with 16 knots apparent wind, and you notice we're not heeled over a lot. It's a pretty stiff boat, and we're making really good time here. I've highlighted this 8.2 knots over ground. Anyway, speaking of the cockpit, here is just a view of the cockpit from one of the helm seats, from the port helm, looking forward. And as I mentioned about the Catalina design theory, it's not just about building an offshore boat, but building an offshore boat that takes care of the crew. There's that old saying, one hand for you, one hand for the boat, or one hand for the boat, one hand for you, depending on how you want to look at it. Well, if you don't have any place to put that hand, it doesn't do you any good. And there are handholds and handrails all over the Catalina 470. There are wonderful, heavy-duty, strong, rigid stainless steel handholds and rails all over the cockpit, and as well as cockpit pad eyes to clip harnesses in all over the cockpit. There's plenty of room in the cockpit, as I say, for 6 or 8 people. You're not going to get 6 or 8 people sleeping in the cockpit, of course, but sitting there or sailing, you certainly can. Personally, I think it's better suited for 4 to 6, but I've seen people put 8 or 10 people in there for evening sundowners or snacks and stuff like that. And being able to hold on when you're at sea is important. Just a couple other quick generic views of the cockpit here. And I want to just highlight these with the cockpit pad eyes. You're seeing the locations, 3 of them. There's each one of the locations, there is a mirrored position on the other side. By the companionway, there's one port and starboard. On the after end of the cockpit table, there's a port and starboard, and at each helm position, port and starboard. This allows you to clip in your harness when you're at sea. And as an old school offshore sailor, it became very normal for me to clip in a harness anywhere I go. Always have two lanyards and always have one clipped in. As I said, the 470, as I said, is not just designed to be an extremely fast, capable, and very comfortable offshore blue water cruising boat, but it is also designed to take care of the crew as well. Boats will survive a lot more than the crews can. Speaking of taking care of the crew, if you happen to be sailing downwind in heavy seas, people are always concerned about getting pooped. Well, I've never heard of a 470 being pooped, but should you ever encounter something like that or have a breaking wave come into the crash down on the cockpit, the bridge deck between the cockpit sole and the companionway entry is a few feet, and there isn't enough water unless you're in the middle of a force 10 storm. There isn't enough water that's going to come in there that's ever going to cause a problem there. This is just a shot of looking out the stern from the cockpit, and the maze of crap that we all carry on our cruising boats. We've got the dinghy outboard motor there on a lift or on a bracket with the hoist back there to get it on and off the dinghy. I've got a man overboard pole and a man overboard strobe and a inflatable man overboard throwing life ring, and that with a 75-foot floating line attached and all that, as well as the proverbial giant stainless gas grill for all of our barbecue needs and stuff. Also have scuba tanks and all of that back there. You know, as I said, it's a cruising boat. This is not a racing boat. I'm so proud of the Garhauer company, Bill and Guido and the boys out there in California. I don't know how to express my love and appreciation for them and how incredibly generous they are, standing behind their warranties and making hardware, sailing hardware that is absolutely beautiful. This Garhauer Traveler on the 470 is not just a thing of beauty, but it is a smooth as silk machine. And when I say, well, maybe I should say smooth as butter, um, with a 500 and some square foot mainsail, fully batten main, and 20 knots, 25 knots apparent going to windward. You can just grab the traveler line and pull, and you can move your traveler car and bring your mainsail in if you need to, or spill some wind. Let it out and spill some wind. And I see people struggle all the time putting their lines on winches and grinding away, and it's like, you know, get yourself a decent traveler and learn how to trim your sails, and life will be a lot nicer. And Garhauer is a great company to do business with too. I just absolutely love them. This is actually a photo from the Catalina 470 brochure. It's not my boat. This is just a generic Catalina 470 from their 4-page sales brochure. I just kind of liked the picture, and it was one that I didn't actually have the particular angle from my boat. And that little space between the helm seats in the aft end of the cockpit there, just forward of the stern transom ladder that hinges down. That wonderful empty space there is a great space to put your spinnaker. If you're not flying it at the time and you've got it in a bag and you want to know what to do with it, stick it right there, and you've just made yourself a great beanbag seat. And you've not only given yourself another seat in the cockpit. If you have 3 or 4 people, or say 2 or 3 people that want to lay down and take a nap in the cockpit, um, laying across the cockpit, across the helm seats, and using that beanbag, their support is also quite nice as well. So, just an observation from somebody that's spent many hours sailing offshore, many days, thousands of miles sailing offshore in a 470. Oh, and speaking of that, here's the black bag is sitting on the side deck here, just next to my dinghy, And that's my big ASEM spinnaker, and that's the bag that I was talking about, that big turtleback. Oh, there I am at the helm. Certainly got a very reliable autopilot, but there's no question about it when it comes to, we were in a squall, and I had more squalls coming up, and in the middle of the Atlantic, and I just wanted to feel the motion, so to speak. Quite luckily, the winds were not really strong at that point. We were in kind of a light wind area, but we had some really nice fresh water coming down with rain, and I didn't mind getting a little cooled off from the summer heat either. So just another look at the helm here, just to give you an idea of what I was steering with. And this is just a photo that actually highlights the windlass remote control buttons. And to be honest with you, those two buttons are weatherproofed, rubber encapsulated momentary contact push buttons that I bought at West Marine. Huge, heavy duty, high current, which they didn't need to be. Really nice brass shafts and all of that. They weren't cheap. I think they were each like $20 or $30 each. And I mounted them there in the cockpit, and they just run up. I have some wiring that I installed. The entire project was, maybe, I don't know, $50, $100 for the wiring and the buttons. But it was a couple hours worth of work running the wiring up forward to the windlass control that's in the locker just forward of the forward shower stall and the forward head. And they just parallel in with the foot switches in the bow in the anchor locker. So you can retrieve or drop your anchor from the helm if you're sailing shorthanded. And that's just also a highlight of the autopilot control head and display there as well. One thing I really like about the somewhat, I would say old school, but the really nice monochrome black and white Raymarine 6002 series control heads, you can read them perfectly in bright sunlight with polarized sunglasses or not. You can read them in the shade, in the direct sun. You can read them from any angle, whether you're wearing polarized lenses or not. You can read them at night with the backlighting turned up or down, and they're absolutely wonderful. And of course, not just the heading display, but of course you have 6 or 8 other displays you can have on there, whether you want to put your depth display or your wind or your bearing to waypoint or whatever you want. They're very nice and very versatile. Most of the time when you're on autopilot, you're not sitting behind the helm. It is nice to have that there. This is just some close-up pictures of the cockpit pad eyes, the Witchard pad eyes, and these are all through bolted. All the pad eyes I put on board for harnesses and that are all through bolted with stainless hardware and lock nuts as well. This includes the pad eyes I used for the lee cloths in the berths below. This is just a photo I took of my passerelle, my homemade homebrew passerelle that I brought with me from the States. This is at Marina Bay on the quay in Gibraltar in Europe, and I got a lot of comments from some of the guys there in Gibraltar about my GRP passerelle, which we would call fiberglass. It's one half of a 16-foot fiberglass extension ladder. And I've got non-skid King starboard material on one side, which is great if you just need an 8-foot long ramp. But if you're going up or down, I found walking on the rungs themselves, particularly if carrying groceries or boat parts or something like that, to be a little steadier for me. Not exactly the most graceful man on the planet. My mom used to say I was like a bull in a china shop. But as you can see, as well as the outboard motor on its dedicated bracket and the hoist for it, I also have my scuba tanks there and the gas grill. The brackets for the man overboard pole and the man overboard strobe, and the inflatable throwing life ring, as well as I've got all of that there as well. But I've taken and stowed all those below for this when I took this photo. Oh, this is just a photo also from Gibraltar showing my European 230 volt AC to 120 volt AC transformer. And I specifically say 230 to 120. It's actually about 230 to about 124 is how it worked out. It's a multi-tap transformer, and I can there is a tap plug on the rear of the case that I can adjust. So if the dock voltage was maybe only 220 or 215 or something like that, I could still have 120 to 125 volts on the boat. Or if the voltage was quite high, if it was 240, 245 or something like that, I could change the tap the other direction and keep my onboard voltage to 115 to 125 volts. So, and it's a 5,500 watt intermittent, 5,000 watt continuous, and I ran 2 air conditioning units on this in Marina Bay for a few days with no problem at all. The third one would kind of buzz and hum in that a little bit as it started. It would run, but boy, the transformer was getting warm, and I believe I was pulling all of about 5,500 watts, and I just didn't feel like stressing it. So I generally would run just 2 air conditioning units at once. I would run all 3 for an hour or 2, and then I would shut a third one off. Just a photo of my dynaplates from my SSB radio, HF ham radio, and that. Of course, the Marilon through hulls of the 470, and doesn't really give us any underwater metal structure. So I just installed those right after I got the boat when I put the HF radios in. And the auto prop is wow. All I gotta say is, if I did not know how much I love that propeller. I am a sailor. I am not a boater. I'm not a power boater. I am a sailor. And I never knew that a sailor could love a propeller. But I'll tell you, that is one amazing prop. The auto pitching feature of that prop gives it 100% thrust in reverse and 100% thrust in forward gear. It also allows the auto pitching allows for a wonderful power hitting through seas, whatever, and it's really good if you have to punch through a heavy sea. And quite frankly, if you're sailing in light wind areas and you're going to do some motor sailing, nothing beats the auto prop. I know a lot of people talk about adjustable pitch props like the Max prop, but nothing beats the automatic pitching of the auto prop. It's just an amazing piece of machinery, and yes, it's weird. It looks weird. It's complicated, and it's expensive as all get out. And you know, who's going to spend $3,000 or $5,000 on a propeller? You think you're insane, but boy, I tell you, it is one of the single best accessories that you can put on your sailboat. No question about it. This is just a quick look of my path along from Florida to Gibraltar and that passage. And there's an abrupt move a few hundred miles off the coast of North Carolina, where I sailed to the southeast for a couple of days before tracking back to the north. That was due to weather. I was avoiding a very heavy low pressure system that was coming off of the continental U.S. And another jaunt to the north, about in the middle of the Atlantic, where we were looking for wind where we had none. So I knew there was some north of me for a way. So we motored for a good half a day to get up there and get the rest of the wind there. Just another couple of more quick photos. This is of the side deck of the 470, and another look at the man overboard pole and strobe and inflatable. This is just a look at some of my scuba tanks under rear as well. The white block that's just above one of the scuba tanks. That's where the dinghy outboard sits as well. And now we come to some of my favorite places on the boat, aside from laying in the cockpit while on autopilot offshore. I'm a radio operator and an electronics a geek from way back. So I designed the layout of my own nav station. Of course, the lower aft panel, the hinge down electrical panel, is a factory from Catalina. The other three panels I designed and built and installed all the equipment there myself. The forward lower panel takes three screws to come undone to open it up. The other three panels are secured but hinged down. And low power consumption, efficiency, and a clean slate is what I like to talk about. It allows the entire chart table to be used. There's nothing cluttering anything up in the chart table. It's another view of the nav station. That's an old Weatherfax machine I've since replaced with a new Furuno, but just shows the handrail to the right, the EPIRB location up there that's easily deployable, fans. It's just another quick look at the nav station. And this particular view of the nav station, you see four red LEDs shining down at the nav station. Those are I installed myself as well for night vision type view of things. There's also another chart light right in the very center of the screen there. It's very old school, and I can move that anywhere I want as well. And of course, the red LED backlight of the electrical panel is also a Catalina standard. Just a little close-up view of the electrical panel standard from Catalina. And my Furuno Weatherfax machine printing out a satellite image from the GOES satellite. Just a view of the main salon. I'm only the second owner of this boat. I've had it for 20 years. The original owner and he and his wife ordered it without a dinette table. And quite frankly, because of the table on the starboard side, and it's a so-called a two-top, plus the chart table, allows three people to easily eat downstairs if the weather necessitates that. And I have a really nice custom-made collapsible dinette table that I've used once and only once, but not for eating. I used it just to test it and threw some charts on it, and that never found I needed it. So it gives you a wonderful, huge area for relaxing, entertaining, sleeping, listening to music, working on projects, whatever you need to do without being cluttered or in the middle of a cluster of everything. And this might look like some kid went nuts with his laser tag machine, but this is just an example of to the extreme that Catalina and myself, adding some additional handholds, goes through to make sure that everything on board can be held onto. Every place you can stand or sit or lean or move, any place a human being can be on this boat, there is a handrail and a handhold for you. In the shower stalls, both shower stalls, they're stainless handrails, through bolted with lock nuts. In both heads, outside of the shower stalls. In both sleeping cabins, on both sides of both sleeping cabins. In the main salon, in the nav station, in the galley, in the companionway. There's stainless rails on each side of the companionway steps. Every place you can sit or lean or stand or move on this boat, there are handholds and handrails. They will hold me, a big fat American like myself, in a heavy seaway bouncing around like my flubber does. It will hold me. This is a very strong, very heavy duty boat, and it is designed not just to sail through whatever weather you will find offshore, across oceans, and anywhere in the world you decide to go, but it's also designed to make sure that it protects and takes good care of the humans on board. Just another quick view of the main salon. Everybody, has different ways of doing things on their own boats. Just shows that there are three fairly sizable storage areas underneath the main salon dinette area, which I have used for my tools, miscellaneous parts and equipment, as well as PFDs, emergency supplies, flares, things like that. I generally keep the first aid kit and a ditch bag above that. So all of the quote unquote safety gear is in one location. I have additional first aid kits in both heads. I have additional PFDs in both cabins as well. But geez, I've got enough on board for everybody in the world can have two of them. Everybody on board will have two. But keeping the safety gear and the emergency gear in one spot has always made good sense to me. It's in the central part of the boat, and right down at the floor, at the very bottom of this photo, is the cabin sole of the access points to the bilge and the keel sump, and that is the center part of the boat. That's where the center of gravity is, and the center of effort and moment is right there. So should you do need to sit and put your PFD on or get your emergency gear ready to go, you're in the part of the boat that will be moving the least. Just another couple of quick views of some of the handholds and handrails that are around. Again, this probably looks like some kid went crazy with his laser pointer. Sorry about that. And yes, I probably have gone overboard with the handrails and the examples of them, but it's just me. In addition to being a radio nut, I'm also kind of of course, I'm not just an amateur meteorologist, but I have studied meteorology for years. But in addition to those hobbies, one of my peeves on board boats have always been, forgive my language, piss poor refrigeration and freezing. And for those of you that are up north, whether you're from the UK or New England or Pacific Northwest, heck, even California, um, come down to Florida, the Bahamas in the summertime, or in the Caribbean just about in the summertime as well, and you'll find how inadequate a lot of marine refrigeration is. I've improved the insulation on my refrigerator and freezer boxes here, um, about 5 cubic feet each after I got done improving the refrigeration, and they're absolutely phenomenal. It's a really nice old school Danfoss 50 BD50 compressor unit it's an Adler Bobber cold machine, the CU 100 cold machine. Reliable, lasts forever. And here's a picture of the inside of my fridge. This is the top of the fridge, not the bottom, the top of the fridge. I had some cans of soda there. And if you zoom in on that thermometer, you'll see it's at 34 degrees. And that's what the thermostat set at about position number 4 out of 7. So it's about 2/3 scale, 4.5, I think, out of 7. And I could crank it up higher. Freezer will get a few degrees colder, and then the fridge starts to get down to 32 degrees. And when you're freezing your lettuce and your tomatoes and that, it's not a good thing. So I don't like to turn it up any higher than that. And here's a picture of the thermometer that I just threw in the bottom of the freezer. And this freezer is empty. There's a blue ice cold pack I just tossed in there. Other than that, the whole freezer is empty, and it's at 8 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is summertime in Florida. Another view of some more handrails and some of the Hella fans. I'm not a big fan of air conditioning. I have 3 really, really nice, reliable, heavy-duty marine air conditioning units on board, as well as a Fisher Panda 6 kW generator. But I'm not really a fan of AC. I was on the boat when I got it, and I keep it well maintained, but I'd much rather have natural airflow. And this is just a quick layout of the 470 with the aft cabin. Queen berth with the lee boards I put in, as well as a full head and full shower aft. In the main salon, both the dinettes on both sides, port and starboard, make up into single berths, and I have really nice lee cloths for those as well. Forward cabin is a queen Pullman berth, so it's queen size, quote unquote, but the forward end where your feet go is cut off a little bit to allow for a little bit of walk through into the head. So full head and shower as well as forward as well. Really massive collision bulkhead forward before the anchor locker. This is a very busy, almost ridiculous graphic to put up here, and I apologize for it. You can ignore it if you'd like, but I'm a fiend for spare parts and storage. So these are just all the little storage locations on board the Catalina 470. And, as I said, it's an offshore cruising boat. It's not a race boat. Race boats don't carry spare parts. They have chase boats that do that. This is an old diagram of the 470 that I drew on, and it just shows a bit more of an old school look at things. I'm sorry, I just put it in here just for fun more than anything else. You're welcome to pause this video at any time if you like. This is a photo of the galley from the Catalina brochure. This is not my galley. You'll notice any pictures that you're seeing, any images that you see where it says SV Annie Laurie, those are pictures of my boat. Those are pictures that I took either with a cheap $9 disposable 35 millimeter camera or with a cheap 10 or 12-year-old, 15-year-old flip phone camera, like maybe even barely a megapixel digital camera. So the photos that I've taken are pretty crappy looking, and I apologize for that. But this is a very nice picture that Catalina put in their brochure. I'm sure they had somebody in their office stage this for their brochure. But anyway, it just shows I just did it so I could show you the handholds in the galley. It's a U-shaped galley, and believe me when I tell you that it is almost impossible to hurt yourself in this galley. It's a wonderful 3-burner gimbaled stove and oven. Really nice. It's a wonderful galley. I can cook in offshore. I bake bread in the middle of the Atlantic, sailing across. I bake bread in this galley. I've made breakfast, lunch, and dinner here. It's actually wonderful. And I'm not a big cook, so again, just to highlight this, any pictures that you see, it says SV Annie Laurie. These are my boats, the pictures that I took of my boat. This is the aft cabin with the queen berth, and you can see I've got lee boards on either side, and these hinge down. You just lift up the mattress on the side, and the lee boards hinge down. They are all through bolted, very, very heavy duty hinges. All stainless hinges, all stainless hardware, all through bolted, all with lock nuts on the reverse side. This is just another look at them, and I've known people that have gone to sea in their boats and have just tried to wedge a cockpit cushion or a boat fender or something up against a bulkhead or brace themselves or something. But I got to tell you something. As I said, the two things at sea that make life wonderful when sailing offshore is a nice, clean, dry bunk to sleep in and really good food to eat. You add some good music to that and maybe a good book to read. Some people like to read. My late brother Jim was a big reader, or Sudoku or something like that. I'm kind of a daydreamer myself. But a clean, warm, and dry bunk to sleep in that's secure while you're at sea, and some really good food. Those will keep any crew happy. And it's just as important. This is just a quick view of the aft cabin. And this is not my boat, it's a sister ship. This is from either from another boat that was for sale on Yacht World, or it's from the brochure. I don't remember which one it is, but the lights I have at the head of my bed are gooseneck spotlights, and these are ones this one has is the hinged lampshade type lights. But other than that, it's identical, and it is a very comfortable berth to sleep in, and I have slept in it at anchor and at sea. And there are 4 hatches in this cabin. 2 hatches open into the footwell of the cockpit above. As you can see right under the T of Catalina, there's one hatch there. There's the mirror on the other side. And then there are 2 smaller hatches that open until I guess you would call it the side deck of the cockpit. And there's also an opening porthole. I also have fans at the head of the bed, as well as by the opening port as well. And there's also a skylight. It's a very small. It's about 3 inches wide. It's about 18 inches long. A really nice little skylight. It's very light and airy aft cabin. And again, this is an aft cockpit boat. This is not a center cockpit. This is an aft cockpit boat that's very easy and dry aft cockpit boat. And there's plenty of room for me to stand up, move around, get dressed, whatever, right here in this aft cabin. This is the forward cabin, the Queen Pullman berth, showing the lee cloths that I put in here as well. And again, this is also very secure, and you can see the fan I've got at the foot of the bed there as well. Very secure for sleeping at sea. And this is actually my favorite sea berth on the boat. This is the port side dinette settee with the lee cloths that I put in for it. And again, these lee cloths is very heavy duty canvas and nylon line I've used. Actually, I think I used polyester. And the pad eyes that these lines hook to are all through bolted into the deck liner, not the deck itself, but into the deck liner, which is solid fiberglass. And boy, you throw a couple of cushions in there and a pillow and a blanket, and well, I'll tell you, that ocean will just rock me to sleep. I'll be out in about 2.5 minutes. And although for some reason I got an internal clock, I certainly would have never missed a watch. But it's a wonderful thing having the ocean just lull you right to sleep, rock you to sleep, something like that. And the air conditioning, as I mentioned on board, of course we don't use it when I'm at sea, of course. But there's a big AC vent right above you there in the corner. This is the other side. This is the starboard side of the main salon in the Catalina 470. And as I said, it's a little two-top table here. And some people might call it a cocktail table or something like that. But certainly, unless you're serving a 5-course meal, it's good enough for 2 people to eat a couple-course meal right there. And that leg comes out, and that table leaf goes right down onto the base of that settee. It's a split base, and there are cushions that go in the middle there. And that is a standard from Catalina. At the very top of this photo, you can see slightly. You can see the pad eyes for the lee cloth that you're going to see here in just a second. And that actually is the lee cloth that you see folded up there on that table. That's the canvas lee cloth. I did not do that stitching. I drew it out and designed it, and I had my sailmaker actually do it for me. I'm not good when it comes to professional stitching. There it is, deployed. And as I said, the port side is my favorite because you don't have to do anything. And this one, you actually have to make up the berth. So the other one is my favorite. But when I'm at sea, I'll probably have both of them made up on a daily basis. Anyway, again, very open, very well ventilated, but very secure. And again, you're right in the center of the boat. So very little motion there at all. And this is just another quick view of it here. This is just another view of the marine air conditioning vent here, the 2 of the air conditioning units. This is from the aft cabin here. And the aft cabin unit is in the aft cabin locker. And the forward and main salon unit is under the forward berth. There's 2 units there. So there's 3 air conditioning units on board. And they're all easy to get at and easy to service. I know some people will put them in underneath the cabinet somewhere in a lazarette. And, what a nightmare to work on. Just not good. If you've got an electric device or mechanical device, or worse, an electromechanical device, put it somewhere where you can get at it, where you can service it and maintain it, keep it clean, keep it well operating. Don't know why I've got this one in again, but this is just a look at the handholds again in the main salon. And this is an optional handhold that I put in myself. You can see it here on the picture right in the center of the screen, in the doorway between the main salon and the forward cabin. And then there's another one on the wall, the bulkhead going from the forward cabin into the forward head. And again, these are all really nice, heavy duty, all stainless hardware through bolted in there. This is a Catalina factory handrail. It's the reason I'm showing it is not just for the heavy dutiness of the factory handrail, but to show the pad eyes that I'm using for the lee cloth. And again, those are through bolted um, into the deck liner, which is a solid fiberglass. And right behind, or I should say outboard of those pad eyes, is a panel that unscrews, and that gives you access to the underside of the deck where your Genoa track is. So if you ever have to take the Genoa track off or rebed it or something, it's pretty easy to get at there. And here is just another look. This is on the port side of the handrail on the port side, and three of the pad eyes for the port side lee cloth. This is in the aft cabin, and surprisingly, in the aft cabin, although you could grab a hold of the door frame, which is incredibly strong, um, there were handholds over by the berth, and that handhold, really beautiful handhold, all along in the head, but there wasn't a handhold on the inside of the door. And so if the door was closed, which I don't know why it would be, but if you were getting some privacy or you needed the quiet or something like that to sleep, and the door was closed and you needed to hold on to the handrail somewhere, where are you going to grab a hold to? You have to open up the door first. So I put a new handrail there, and it worked so well. I decided, well, let me put another one in. So I put another one in over here on the other, where before you go into the head door, go into the door there. This is a handrail I put into the aft shower stall, even though there is a seat in there, and there is a small handhold in there already from the factory. I thought, you know what, might as well just put another one in. There's no sense, if I'm doing it, I might as well do it right. So I put this one in as well. And then also put another one in the aft head, although I mislabeled this when I made the photo up the other day. And again, these are all through bolted stainless with lock bolt or lock nuts on the inside. And here is the additional handhold I put in the forward cabin, and this is on the bulkhead between the forward cabin and the forward head. You also see a stainless one down there at the lower down the bulkhead between the forward head and the forward shower. So there's two really nice new heavy duty handholds in each cabin, in each head, as well as in the shower as well. And here's the one that's in the on the other side, and you can see the this is in the forward head, and this is in the forward shower stall. Another one in the forward shower stall. This is just showing two bilge pumps, the standard 1500, 1800 gallon per hour bilge pump on a float switch, or with a float switch, and that with your standard 1 inch or 1 1/4 inch outlet. Then I have a dedicated 4,000 gallon per hour pump with its own smooth 1.5 inch outlet. Goes to its own through hull fitting, its own duckbill anti-siphon loop, and all of that. So it is not on a float switch. It is operated by its own breaker. And I also have a separate high water alarm that's about 6 inches above the bottom of the keel sump. And that, you're looking down into the bilge, that is the keel sump there, where Catalina attaches its 9,500 pound solid lead keel to. I think it's 16 or 15 keel boats. I don't remember. I'd have to look, but anyway, it's pretty heavy duty. And then on top of all of that, I installed a high efficiency Spectra water maker as well. And I apologize for this picture. There's a lot of dirt and dust and that in there. I took the picture before I finished cleaning up, so sorry about that. The old Yanmar. Nothing like a good 4-cylinder Yanmar. No electronics on this machine. This is a 1999 turbocharged 4-cylinder Yanmar diesel, the 4JH2HTE, and once you start it, it will run until it runs out of fuel. Mechanical injector pump, mechanical primary fuel pump. Um, I love it. To stop it, you pull the stop cable, which basically pulls the valve and shuts the fuel off. There's no electric solenoid that turns the fuel off. It's by a manual cable. So it's not a modern what do they call that, a rail injected engine. It's beautiful. It lasts probably forever. And this one I don't know what I got 1,800 hours on it, something like that. 2,000 hours, 1,800 and some hours. And it's 20 years old, and the thing it'll probably outlast me, no question about it. 90 amp battery charger, the Raycore filters, separate Raycore filter for each fuel tank, as well as the easy access to the raw water strainer as well. I mentioned the 6 kW Fisher Panda generator and the air conditioning units. Two of the AC units are under the forward bunk with the Fisher Panda generator. One of the owners of a sister ship of mine referred to the Fisher Panda as the beast that lives under the forward berth or forward bunk, and I tend to agree. I don't run the doggone thing very much, and to be totally honest with you, it's in need of probably in need of maintenance. I'd have to take a quick look at it, but I'll get to it. But I also store my big, massive hurricane anchor underneath here, as well as oil change pump, other miscellaneous tools, a little too big that I don't use very often. My outboard motor hoist, the spare lines, spare pieces of sailcloth and all of that. Um, Lots of stuff that's still bulking. And here is the big Fortress 125 anchor. It's a 69-pound aluminum anchor. The thing stands 5 feet tall if you stand it up on its end, and a couple hundred feet of chain. Anyway, that anchor unbolts and gets stored under under the forward berth, and the chain, of course, goes into the chain locker. And I have 450 feet of double rated rode that I have stored in the aft lazarette as well. Anyway, I'm just going to wrap this up. Oh, my towed water generator. Yeah, I know it's old school, very old fashioned. People say it's a great way to hook yourself an orca or something like that. But with solar panels being as inexpensive as they are and as efficient they are these days, the water generator is probably an anachronism of the past. I don't know how much I'll use it anymore, but if you're on a long passage, it is absolutely wonderful. You can be on a long passage with cloudy skies for weeks and never have to start an engine. I've often said that diesel should be used to power your boat in and out of the harbor, and other than that, I'm a sailor. So anyway, I know it's a little old-fashioned and that, but there it is. There it is in operation. This was in the middle of the North Atlantic, and it makes just a little bit more than 1 amp per knot of boat speed, from about 4 to about 7 knots. It makes about 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, and 7.5 amps per knot, or amps at those at 4, 5, 6, and 7 knots of boat speed, depending upon its particular mood at the time. But in general, if you're sailing at 6.5, 7 knots, it's producing 7.5 amps of power 24 hours a day, which is more than enough to take care of your autopilot and your refrigeration and that. So even if your solar panels crapped out or you had virtually nothing else on board that you could get power from, this thing would keep you going forever. Anyway, this kind of wraps this up. This entire little slideshow I put together was basically just a way of showing you that the Catalina 470 is, without a doubt, one of the best blue water cruisers on the planet. It is an extremely well-designed yacht, and I use that word specifically because it's not a race boat. I know Catalina got a reputation for being a racing type of boat. It's also not a production boat, even though it was made in a production facility. Um, you had to order it. A Catalina dealer had to order a Catalina 470, and then the factory would build them. In the 20 some years they were in production from 1998 to I believe 2020, 2021. In the 20 some years they were in production, they made 175 hulls. And they still have the molds. It's not currently in their product line on their website or in their brochure, but I imagine if you called them up and you paid a deposit, they would build one for you. If not, there's 174 of them available. Well, not available, but 174 of them still floating around the world somewhere. And it is a very nimble and extremely heavy duty and well behaved, comfortable offshore blue water cruising boat. And I grew up sailing my parents' Hinckley, and also sailed on a Swan 57 for a while. Also sailed on a Tiana for a while. Also sailed on a couple of Hylases and did some deliveries on the Hylases and Hinkleys and Tianas and all of that. And although I do have a special part in my heart for a Hinckley Southwester 52, I don't happen to have a spare $2 or $3 million laying around. So for about 1/5 that cost, you could have yourself a beautiful brand new Catalina 470. Truly one of the best blue water cruisers that has ever been made. And yes, I am a little biased. And here's a picture of mine at the dock with a beautiful sunset to the west. So anyway, thank you all for watching this, and hope you have a nice evening.